Normally earned value, if you refer to project management body of knowledge, it will be put under the cost, okay? When it comes to cost controlling, so that is when earned value is there. Okay, first thing first, value that we normally understand, okay, the amount of work carried out by contractor in accordance with the contract. That's what we call, remember, we in project cash flow, we introduce the concept of value is cost plus profit. So this is the value that we basically refer to. The contract value is the one, normally the tender value is during the tendering stage, but once you are the winner of the contract, of the tender, so it will be turned into what we call contract value. Okay. Then the cost. Cost is the amount of money. This is what we call, this thing is the amount of money that contractor will do the work. Then after that, the the remaining basically is what we call profit. So cost plus profit is equivalent to value. And whereas the budget, normally in the project management, they will talk about the budget. Even the government project, they will basically allocate budget, okay? The budget for the project. That is what the term budget basically refer to, okay? Cash flow. Cash flow is the difference between, we have learned about those things. In some books, they do not calculate, calculate project requirement, cash requirement as we calculate. They just basically do a simple calculation, the differences between money received and expend for that particular month. Whereas in our calculation, uh, money spent, money spent on that particular month, we deduct with the what we call payment received from the previous month. Okay, so if you refer to many books, you will have different views, but for simplistic approach, you just simply follow our method as we learn in cash flow. Okay, earned value management. If we refer to project management body of knowledge, so this is what we call 6th edition. Now we already have the 7th edition. So project PM BOK define earned value management as a technique to measure performance of a project as it moves from initiation to project closure, from the start until the end of the project. It also provides a mean to forecast the future of project performance based on past performance. So what is this thing? Okay, we are going to look into this. So purpose of EBM is basically to integrate cost and schedule. Remember, when we talk about project monitoring, I showed you the time measurement and cost measurement. That will be the separate thing. And how do, if we integrate those things, and this is what the earned value management is all about. Prediction about future performance based on our current progress. If we still doing at the current rate or the productivity rate, how about our what we call when are we going to complete the project, for instance, at what cost? This is what earned value is all about. So if, for instance, we can associate in terms of what could be the current progress and future progress, that will be a good thing. Okay, so that, for instance, if we are working on certain project that we might not sure how much that we need to spend, really spend. So at the end of the day, we can get more allocation. Once we understand, okay, next year our project is targeted to be completed, but we need extra budget because we simply cannot do that. That would be a good information ahead of time so that we can be prepared. So this is what we call decision making. Where can EVM be applied? It can be applied to any project. Even you can try on a small project, a sample project. For instance, if you well versed with Microsoft project later on, you can try with 4 simple activity. Then you can see even EVM can be generated from that as well. Except for project with not a clear project definition. Why? Because we need to log certain information first, or what we call baseline. That's what we call plan, okay? Plan S-curve with time and then cost ahead of the project progress, because otherwise we cannot basically calculate what we call project variance, because if things keep changing, that is the issue. With regard to the example of research project, for instance, COVID research, it is never ending. Now we do have all kind of variants. We thought that we can spend 100 million and come up with the thing, and then that will be end of our research, but then suddenly it developed into something else. And that is the example. So it is very difficult, okay? So earned value analysis from the earned value management is bigger concept. Then we do have earned value analysis. Analysis is basically when we get all kind of figures, okay, or value. So it integrate what we call cost and schedule. Okay, normally in a project, we do have scope, clear scope. From the scope, then basically we can generate a schedule, that will be time. And then we also will know the costs. In a normal way of doing things, we can monitor based on time management and the cost management. Okay, that is fine. But then what happens if we can integrate those things? Remember, out of this cost, we do have what we call budgeted costs or original costs. Then we can, during the implementation, the cost might not be as what we wish. This is what we call actual cost. So to be practical, normally earned value management, as a contractor, for instance, you can use the Gantt chart based on the costs. So normally the issue is that when you submit to the client, the Gantt chart with the cost is already inclusive of the profit. So that would be considered as value, because you want to be the same as the contract value. We can understand that. Okay, that for the reporting purposes to the client, that is what normally we do. But earned value management, in order to better utilize the concept, you separate out the profit. You just basically show in terms of the cost. Then only you understand when you, let's say you budgeted 100,000 for activity A, but suddenly when you do the real work, some of the costs might not be as what you expect. Maybe you need to get more people, you need to get a bigger machine, you need to pay the material, which basically more expensive now compared to your original what we call plan. That is when you can input actual costs. Then only you can see this thing can be beneficial with regard to, at the end of the day, at the end of the project, you will see that how much you budgeted the cost in total, then how much basically you spend. Then if you deduct from that, you will, at the end of the day, then only you will know your profit. Your profit could be reduced due to escalation of costs. Okay. But if, for instance, we just want to use normal, what we call S-curve that we submit to the client without the what we call, because the issue is that we cannot put the cost more than what it is being tied up with the activity, because the contract value is the same. What we can basically relate is we might be spending more or less in terms of, let's say we spend more, maybe we are doing more activities. That is equivalent. We spend less, maybe because we have done less activity. So we can also relate in that way. But we are not going to fully capitalize the EVA. So I would say, for instance, if you are a contractor and you are working, you really want to utilize this thing, so you need to separate between the cost and basically the value. So you are working on the cost, so you separate the profit element, but you do not show this thing to the client, because the client no need to look at how much money you profit from the project. Okay, it is separate file. Okay, then time. Okay, time, work schedule. This is what we call original schedule. Then work perform. Sorry, work perform. Your original schedule is one thing, and then what you achieve is another thing. So this is what we call percent complete. How much quantity, real quantity that you basically put, okay, or you basically install based on real performance. Okay, look at this thing. From the old way of defining budgeted costs, we do have what we call budgeted costs or work schedule, and then budgeted costs or work performed. But nowadays, in order to simplify the term, we just simply use PV. Okay, this is what normally in earned value management nowadays, they basically refer to PV. PV is basically planned value, the original value. EV is basically what we call earned value, is the combination of what we call cost and then time. Cost meaning to say what is the percentage of the quantity completed you need to time with the cost. Then only you will get the earned value. Okay, later on we'll go into that. Actual cost is simple, because let's say you are supposed to spend 100,000, but then the cost that you spend until whatever the work progress, you spend 120. So that is what we call actual cost. Okay. So the concept of earned value is the combination. You see, you notice this is a time control and this is a cost control. So earned value is sitting there in the middle of between time and cost. So this is why earned value is being said it integrate cost and schedule. Okay. Benefit of earned value: provide data to enable objective measurement of project status. Okay, we wanted to know what could be the current status. Provide the basis for estimating final cost. Yeah, that is right. This is what we call future. If, for instance, you understand that you need to spend more because of whatever thing that happened. So at the end of the day, when the project completed, well, we add up to the current escalating cost, you are going to end up with this thing. Predicting when the project will be completed, yes, cost is one thing, and then when is basically the element of time. Supporting effective management of resources, basically when you understand how much time you are lagging behind and how much cost you basically incurred, so basically you better manage your resources as it will not as not to affect your profit. Providing a mean of managing and control change, whatever changes happen. So this thing you can refer to APM. APM is based on UK, whereas PMBOK is based on US. You can just simply Google APM, AVM guideline, so you will get a free copy of those PDM guideline anyway. So as a project manager, you are being asked often what could be the status report, whether by your boss or even you need to report to the client on a monthly basis. But on the weekly basis, to better manage your project, you need to have the status. Understood the performance variance. Variance could be in terms of schedule, in terms of the cost, time and cost. And attempt to highlight current project performance, what is the current status, and then subsequently, what could be the project forecast. So the good thing about EVM, it has a three component. One is what we call input. Input is the baseline. The baseline is the information that we need to know first. For sure, when we develop a project schedule, we are going to know what could be the overall project cost. Yeah, we know those things. And then we can also get this thing, plan value, based on what we call original S-curve. That's what we call plan value based on original. Earn value. Earn value is based on what we call status report. Let's say you want to report in the middle of the project. So in the middle of the project, you can get the information based on how much quantity of work supposed to be completed in reality. Then you can calculate, you can also know the actual cost. So this information is based on the status, okay? So maybe I can write it differently. Erase to be more accurate. So this is what we call baseline. This is what the original information that you already get when you develop a project. These are the value based on the status report, current status report. Okay. So once you get this current status report, then you move into this, the second item here, you can generate a few more information, what we call variance. Variance is the difference between actual and original. This is what we call original in terms of schedule or time. Then you can calculate cost variance. Cost is the difference between your plan value and then the actual cost that you already spending. From that, you can take a look at the indicator in terms of variance. You already get the information, but you can put in different way in terms of index. So if, for instance, you already have certain value, normally we are going to indicate with negative or positive, negative or positive. When we talk about variance, unlike the COVID, the positive for variant, positive mean a good thing, negative mean bad thing. COVID is a different thing, isn't it? Positive mean bad, negative mean okay. So, but in terms of index normally come, the base index would be equivalent to 1, but then they could be more than 1, less than 1, that indicate either good or bad. Okay, later on we will go into those things. So there are two variant in terms of schedule, and then another one could be in terms of cost. Okay, that would be status report. Then the third one, this is a good thing, forecasting. Okay, forecasting in terms of estimate at completion. First thing is this one. Remember, we do have BAC. BAC is basically budget at completion, original budget. EAT is basically the cost at the end of the project based on the real spending. This is what we call EAC. ETC is the remaining. Let's say the project cost is about 1 million. You already spend in real, you already spend like 500,000. So the remaining will be 500,000, and that is the remaining. But this one do not include the what we call the escalating costs. But in reality, we can include the escalating cost. The real cost might be not 1 million, might be 1.2 million. So if it is 1.2 million, then basically you need to deduct with the real costs. Then you will get the right answer. And then lastly, TCPI. to complete performance index. The complete performance index this is the overall, I would say the overall summary in terms of time and cost with regard to that project. It will give you indicator in terms of one, more than one, or less than one, in order to for you to see whether you need to put more effort or less effort. Less effort means to say your performance is already good, then basically you don't have to work hard anymore. That is the other way of saying. Or basically you are so far doing so good, so basically you keep up with the current progress rate. So that is what TCPI is all about. But if you already have current status, all the information, you already know your project status anyway. But TCPI is another way of saying things. Okay, so all this formula, all this information that in this slide or in this slide or whatever, I already put into your e-learning in the Microsoft project, Microsoft Word file. The name of the file starts with 0. Okay, Guide to Earn Value Management. You can even Google those things. I'm getting the resources from, I think from one of the website. Is it planning or project? Something like that. So I already taken all the best resources put into that. You can go back and refer. So again, project plan value is the value of the portion task is supposed to have completed according to the original plan. Okay, this is original. This is based on actual. This is original. This is based on actual. So remember, the word earn value is the combination of the cost and quantity. Quantity means to say physical progress. Okay. Actual cost is based on the actual cost of the project, the quantity or the work, and the real spending that we basically, this is also based on actual. Budgeted at completion is basically the overall project cost based on the original schedule. So PV, EV, and AC, this is normally being measured at certain status date. Okay, at certain status date. Let's say for the first week, second week, whatever thing that you want to measure. So normally you are going to generate those value at that particular time. But this is what we call the overall. Then let's take a look at this example. Okay, so plan. So at the end of the original plan, this is what we call original. So if, for instance, you take this value, so this value, this is what we call BAC, budgeted at completion, based on this value. Okay, that is what BAC is all about. Okay, this is what we call status report at particular day that we want. At that particular day, this point, based on plan, this is what we call PV. And then actual, this one is basically actual cost. Let's say when we monitor the cost we basically have to spend more than what we budgeted for. PV is what we budgeted for, but we spend more. So from our record, so this is the graph that we get. So this is what we call AC value at that particular progress date. Earn value. Okay, earn value is how do we get earn value? Based on two things: the quantity of the work, how much we have completed. Let's say we install, let's say at this particular time scale, let's say we install what we call, we install 10 items in our construction project. Or let's say we install 10 piles, okay? we already completed, supposed to be completed 10 pi. But here, based on plan, it looks like we are supposed to be completed half, 5. But the earned value simply reflect, let's say after spending half of the time, we only completed 3 piles because it is so much difficult to install the pile. We can only manage 3. So 3, okay, 3 we can divide by basically 10, for instance, then we get portion of the work. So this is what we call quantity, or the percent complete of certain work. Then we time with the cost. How much cost we can time with the BAC, original cost. Then we get the what we call earned value. That is what earned value is all about. Okay, so in the middle of the work here, we are supposed to be completed 5 piles, but unfortunately, we can only complete 3. So, but the worst situation is that we have spent more. That is what we call AC. That could be the situation. So that's why I say to you, for instance, if contractor is using earned value, so he need to separate between the file that he want to send to the client and the file that he is going to use, because from that he know what could be the extra cost incurred based on his budgeted costs. At the end of the project, then only he can get the real profit. So the real profit have to be deducted with the actual cost spent. Okay. All right. Now we go into the second thing. First thing is basically, this is what we call input. We prepare all the information first based on either original or the actual progress report at certain particular time. Then again, this is what we call current progress. Once we have the information, this information, then basically, then only we can calculate what we call schedule variance. When the word variance is there, as not to confuse, you can imagine when there is a variance, meaning to say the difference between something. So when it is a difference between something, then we do have what we call subtraction. Compare to index. Index, this is what we call divide. When you divide thing, normally it basically relate to index. Because sometimes people get confused. You see, the formula also have EV and PV. This one also have EV and PV. What to subtract and what to divide. Okay, when the word variance is there, then basically it means the difference between something. So the formula is that EV, the value of EV minus with the value of PV at that particular point. Later on, we do have, this must be better. Okay, SV. So SV reflects schedule. Okay, schedule. So you take this, what we call, between this, the difference between what we call EV, this is EV, this is what we call PV. Then you will get value. You notice straight away from this graph, you already know you are supposed to progress here at this particular point, but in reality, you only earn, or you are only eligible, okay, this point only. You manage to do thing at this particular point. From this graph alone, without even going through the calculation, you already know one thing. Your project is basically behind schedule. So from a schedule variance, you will know 2 things, ahead or behind schedule. And it can be simplified using this concept. If, for instance, you get this value, schedule variance, which is basically negative, then you know your project is behind schedule. So negative is a bad thing. sorry, this is negative, this is positive. Positive meaning to say, if you take a look at this diagram, your earned value should be up here. When your earned value, EV, let's say this is EV, then from the graph alone, you know that you are progressing ahead of what you plan. So that could be a good thing. So in the earned value management, you can basically, based on this information, you can decide whether it is negative, positive, good or bad, as simple as that. Then basically, you know, whether it is not to conclude that they could be what we call the project is good, but this is what I call indicator only. Later on, you will notice that there could be situation where the project is behind schedule. You assume that if it is behind schedule, you could be spending less. Naturally, because there are so many activities that you have not completed. For sure, if you are using the S-curve that you submit to the client, when you are running late, for sure that you are going to spend less. That could be the equivalent. But in some situation, like this one, it looks like you are completing less work, but then the cost is much more than what you are supposed to spend. This basically require further investigation. Okay, this could be the scenario. All right, so that would be the schedule variant. Okay, schedule variant. Instead of looking at the schedule variant in that way, EV minus PV, we can look at schedule variant in terms of indicator. Another indicator we call index, SPI index. So SPI index simply you divide EV by PV. So you will get the value of, if everything goes perfectly, equivalent to 1, but then the value could be more than 1 or less than 1, because that is the indicator. Okay? So if it is less than 1, meaning to say it is bad. Okay? This is what we call bad thing. This is good thing. This is another way. And the good thing about the SPI, let's say you calculate, then you will get SPI 1.2. Okay, so 1.2 is a good thing. 0.20 simply mean that basically are progressing about 20%. Then that is an easy way of doing saying things. If, for instance, you calculate just SV, you only know the difference between those things in terms of the overall value, not in terms of percentage. Okay, then this is what we call time. And next, we are going for the cost variance. So cost variance, again, variance means the differences. You notice that EV is there. The EV is there in any of the what we call formula, except that what to deduct. When the cost is there, so you deduct with the AC. AC stands for actual costs. Okay, don't get confused with the term. I think when you understand the time and the cost, so perhaps you will not mix around the formula. So cost variance, EV, this is like cost variance. This is what we call your actual spending, might be more. Whereas in reality, you only manage to complete less number in terms of quantity. But the cost, where does the cost come from? The cost could be coming from increased material price, etc., etc. Okay, so at the end of the day, you get more cost. So cost variance is the measure between the earned value here and then the actual cost. So you notice that when the actual cost is up there, you are supposed to basically spend, this is what the original, but when it is beyond this original line, you already know it is negative or positive. And in terms of the cost, this is what we call bad thing, because this is what we call in terms of the concept, we call it over budget and under budget. Okay, over budget or under budget. So in this situation, you notice that in this our example, the PV is here. The PV is much less value in terms of value, but then AC is much bigger value. So when you deduct, this is not, this is EV. This value with the bigger value, for sure you are going to get negative. So that negative, okay, indicate over budget. Over budget means it is a bad thing. This is bad. So if you get positive, meaning to say you under budget, so this is a good thing. All right. So a good thing meaning to say you manage to perform, okay, whatever quantity being asked, because your EV is much higher at a less cost. That is a good thing. Okay. Then we can take a look at cost variance in terms of the cost performance index, CPI. By dividing EV with AC, then you will get the value of either one. One is when everything is the same, meaning to say it's okay. But then if, for instance, you get less than one, okay, whatever below one, it means that it's not a good thing. Okay, this is a bad thing. And then more than one, which meaning to say you are okay. Okay. And if, for instance, it is 1.1, meaning to say you have been spending 10% less than what the original plan, which is good. Okay, that is what the indicator is all about. Okay, so this example from this graph also you already know when the actual cost is up there, it was supposed to be based on original. Then you know this is what we call over budget. If the actual cost is down below the plan, it is under budget. Under budget meaning to say is good. Similarly, when the earned value is basically less than the original plan, it is behind schedule. Behind schedule meaning to say it is bad. If it is above the plan, the earned value graph is above the plan, meaning to say it is ahead of schedule, which is okay. That is indicator. So the third phase, or basically grouping of earned value management, is basically the future. Is what we call future. Future meaning to say, based on the current status, we can estimate what could be the future in terms of EAC. EAC is estimate at completion. You notice that all the value of EAC do have what we call BAC. BAC meaning to say what we call the original budget, whereas the EAC is basically based on whatever thing that you spend. So must take into account the actual cost. If your actual cost start to escalate from the beginning, at the end of the day, for sure you are going to require more money in order to complete the project. So that is what EAC is all about. Okay. Then there are many a few formula variation of formula. Perhaps you can base on. It depends. If, for instance, you already have certain value, or in exam, whatever, sometimes they do give certain value only. So based on whatever value, then basically you can calculate the cost. If, for instance, you start from the beginning meaning to say you have all the values from here, PV, EV, AC, BAC, whatever thing, then basically you can calculate EAC at ease. Okay. ETC simply mean the remaining. how much money that you need to spend in order to complete the project. Let's say you already complete the project 50% and you already spend a certain amount of money. That's why ETC is basically the estimated cost to complete, how much, and minus whatever thing that you already spent based on actual cost. That would be the remaining. So that would be the easy thing. And then after you are getting this one, then you can get VAC, variance at completion. Well, variance at completion is very simple. The differences between the original and then, of course, the original and the real costs. Okay, and again, if for instance VAC is negative, meaning to say you are over budget, which is a bad thing. If it is positive, meaning to say the actual real cost is less than what you plan. So everybody will be happy. Okay. Then lastly, TCPI. TCPI, I would say the summary of all indicator that we can use, but it do have a little bit twist. The way you need to read this thing is a little bit different. It's contrary to what we understand negative and positive in cost variant and standard variant. Okay. So after you calculate TCPI, you can use this formula, BAC minus EV, etc., or if you already have a certain value, you can use this value as well. And it will basically have the value equivalent to 1 or over 1 point something, over than 1 or under 1. Okay. If, for instance, maybe this one is a little bit confused. I do have another slide later on at the end of the slide, okay? Or in our example, maybe if you take a look at the next example that we are going to show, you might understand. It reflects how much effort that you want to put. Let's say if TCPI is basically 1.2, that is just example, meaning to say 1.2 is you need to put more effort, like 20% more effort in order to be able to complete according to the time that you basically progress. That is what those things mean. So that's why it is a little bit contrary to cost variant and schedule variant. If, for instance, TCPI is less than 1, let's say 0.8. So meaning to say 0.8 meaning to say you already worked so hard at the beginning. So maybe you can reduce your efficiency a little bit less. You're still going to achieve at the target completion. That is what it means. If it is 1.0, meaning to say you don't have to do anything. Okay, we do have an example later on to clarify those things. Okay, now let's take a look at this graph. Okay, the good thing about this graph, it reflects all in terms of input, current progress, and future. Okay, on what the definition of earned value. Okay, let's focus on this plan budgeted. This is what we call PV. This is what we call original. This is what we call original schedule. Let's say the plan completion is here. This is what we call plan completion. Okay, that would be the target, original. Then progress report. Let's say time now. Progress report is the status report. Let's say in the middle of the project, we wanted to report what could be the progress of our project. Then through the monitoring process, we already get this what we call graph that indicate the actual cost of our spending is much more than what we planned. Okay, that's fine. We just indicate draw the graph there. But in terms of the earned value, this is what we call, this graph indicate earned value. And in terms of the quantity of the work that we perform is less than what we are supposed. This is what we call PV at that particular status. Okay. So this is what we call current status based on the progress report. So from that, we can calculate the schedule variant, cost variant, etc., CPI, SPIs, etc. Okay, that will be the current. Then the good thing about earned value is basically the future. The future is like this. Okay, let's take a look at the actual cost. If, for instance, you keep spending based on what you spend so far, so based on our prediction, this dotted line indicate, well, you can complete the project at much later. Why it is much later? Because your earned value is less, because you completed less quantity. But you are going to complete at a much higher than what it is being originally budgeted for. This is what we call EC. That's why if you can still remember, the earned value is a good thing. Is about it can give you some kind of indicator what could be the current status and what could be the future. This is what we call the prediction. Okay, and then that would be in terms of the cost. And how about in terms of the time? Since the earned value is below the PV or the original S-curve graph, we already know that project is running late behind. Why? Because we do install less quantity than what we are supposed to install. And if we are doing at current rate, okay, we need to say if we do nothing, then if we plot the same graph at the end of the day, it looks like we are going to have some kind of extension of time that we need. That this is what the graph or the earned value is all about. In analogy, you can imagine this thing with regard to the Waze apps. Let's say you want to travel from JB to KL. So you will set the destination. The Waze will ask you, what is your destination? So we'll put destination there, Kuala Lumpur, at what particular place. Then the Waze will show us the estimated kilometer and then estimated arrival time. Okay, that is what we call plan. Then you will drive the car at whatever rate. Okay, so the plan of Waze basically is taking into account all the speed limit on the highway. Actually, that is how the thing is being calculated. But then you drive the car according to whatever speed that you wish, or you stop by at a few places. At the end of the day, you will notice there will be a delay in terms of the timing. But the Waze doesn't show you in terms of the cost. Just one aspect of measurement only. So similarly, this is the same concept. So based on the Waze, you already know if you are speeding less than what you are the speed limit of the highway, the average speed limit, then for sure you are going to arrive at certain places much late. So this is the concept. But the Waze only give you one time dimension only, not the cost. If you can incorporate the cost aspect, let's say you want to travel from JB to KL with a certain budget. Budget means to say that could be a petrol, that could be food, etc., etc. That would be interesting. Okay. All right. Now, again, continue from if you refer to the old earned value guideline, they will use these things, the term BCWS, as what you can see from my slide, project monitoring slide that I show you at the end of the slide. There will be example that use this terminology. But nowadays, in order to make things much simpler, Budgeted cost of work schedule, which is very lengthy word that you need to mention. We can just simply call it PV. PV meaning to say planned value. Planned value is the original value based on your original S curve. But of course, the idea of earned value, we want to get the value at specific status report. When you look at specific time, then you are only going to measure the planned value at that particular time only. Okay, not at the end of the project. At the end of the project, for sure, you will get 100% PV, but at that particular time, how much? Okay, and then budgeted cost of work performed. Work performed. Work performed means to say in real, how much activity you already completed or installed at that particular status, and then you can calculate the cost. Let's say in terms of the pi, you are supposed, the planned value is supposed to be 5, but you just simply install the pi is only 3. So the 3 you can proportionate in terms of the original cost, then you will get how much. Okay, so that would be the earned value. Then last one, the last item that you need to have in terms of information is the actual cost. What could be the actual cost? This is what we call, you get this thing from your actual billing. Maybe you need to get more people in order to perform certain work, because from what you plan, sometimes when you do the planning, the productivity rate might not be up to date. So what to do, that is what planning is all about. So the real cost is the one that you need to measure. This is what we call AC. From that, then you will get the schedule variant. Again, the old formula is this one. Well, you might not remember the long formula. Simply, you just remember EV is there, and then PV. PV is the planned value. Okay, in all the formula, EV must be there. Okay, so P planned value is normally associated with the original schedule plan. And then again, you can calculate SPI. So again, if you use BCW, it's very difficult. So just remember about EV divided by PV. That's it. Okay. This is an example of this is what we call PV, and this is what we call earned value. Okay. Let's say the earned value is up there. So from here, you know that it is positive. It's a good thing, ahead of schedule. Okay. If it is down here, EV is down here, then you know that this is negative, behind schedule. Okay, next is cost variant. Again, the old formula is there, is the wrong way. Now it is simplified, EV minus AC. When it comes to the cost, so remember AC is basic cost. So that this must be the correct formula. And then again, the EV divided by AC. Then you will get this value. Okay, CPI, which is basically equivalent to 1, below than 1, or over 1. So 1 is okay, nothing happened. Less than 1 is basically negative. More than 1 is basically positive. That is. So when you take a look at this value, then later on is a contrary from TCPI. TCPI is the other way around. That is the issue. Okay, this is what we call PV. This is what we call AC. When AC is up there, more than what we call original PV, meaning to say we are going to have this what we call over budget. Over budget is not good, very bad. If the AC is here, then everybody is going to be happy because we spend less than what we plan. Okay. Then there is a concept of EAC, ETC that we already mentioned. You notice that earned value management do consist of the baseline, the current, and then the input, the current status, and the future status. So this is what we call future status. Future status meaning to say what could be the total project expected to cost, and then what is expected to complete, means the remaining, what is expected, is it underspent or overspent in terms of variance, etc., etc. And you notice that there is one terminology that we call LRE. LRE is revised estimate. Let's say in the middle of the project, you budgeted the project, original BAC is 1 million. But then maybe you already have some preliminary status report based on first month or whatever. Don't have to wait until the middle of the project. You already increased the budget. This is what we call revised estimate. So when you already have the revised estimate, then basically you need to take into account those things. So at the end of the day, your remaining cost to complete will be less because you already revised in the middle of the way. So that is what we call revised estimate. So in fact, this is the purpose of EVM. Once we understand that we are going to spend more, then perhaps we are going to get ready. But that will not be a good thing. By right, you need to do corrective action in terms of try to control the costs, unless you cannot do anything, especially now, all the material costs have been increased due to the COVID situation. The production line has been slow due to workers cannot get into the workplace. Similarly, even in UK now, they are having problem because when they left the European nation, suddenly a big issue they are facing because they cannot get a cheap laborer from European nation. So you see, even the big nation also have the same problem as in Malaysia. We also get a cheap laborer from those countries, the third world country. So even country like UK also, they are facing problem. At the end of the day, the price of thing will be will increase. Okay, now we come into example. Okay, we start with a simple example first. Let's say we do have a task, okay, 1st January until 10. This is like a task. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. First, okay. Let's say the project is going to be running from 1st January until 10 January. 10 days, okay, with the budget of 5,000, okay, with the budget of 5,000. So we want to do the earned value management, earned value analysis for this project. Supposed to be 6th January, meaning to say 6th January is here. This is what we call our status report, 6th January. So meaning to say we are supposed to be completed 6 days of work. Okay, supposed to be completed 6 days of work based on our original plan. So you see, PV. How do you calculate PV? So 6 day of work, meaning to 6 over a period of 10 days. So 6 over 10, which is 60%. You time with the original, this is what we call BAC, original cost to complete the whole 10 day of activity. So 5,000. Now you already have the PV value. Very easy to calculate, isn't it? Okay, now you already have one value, PV. Next. Okay, the information given, let's say the actual percent complete. In reality, of the step 1, the previous example, is only 40%. You notice that the original plan, 6 divided by 10, supposed to be 60%. This is what we call plan. But in reality, the work that you perform is only 40%. Meaning to say, how do you get 40%? Meaning to say you do less work in terms of quantity. You cannot complete, let's say, in order to make it easy, let's say every day you need to install 1 pile. Supposedly, on the day number 6, you're supposed to be completed 6 pile. But then, in reality, this is what we call based on actual. In reality, you only completed 4 piles. 4 piles meaning to say 40%. So what could be your earned value? Now, you see, 40% is the input that you are getting from the real site, real information. Then you time with the BAC. So you take the proportion. This is what we call BAC. Time is the real progress of the work. So this is what we call element of cost. This is the element of time. You see, now you are getting what we call earned value. Remember, the earned value is the integration between time and cost. So you already get the earned value as 2,000. Okay, now you already have the second information. PV, you already have this thing. EV, you already have this thing. And BAC, you already know. This is what we call BAC. You need another information, AC. Okay, now is the actual cost. Remember, how do you get actual cost? Actual cost is the cost that you get from labor, material, equipment, and then indirect costs, whatever cost that you might want to include, okay? Then let's say the cost that you, in real actual cost is 1,500. That is your actual cost, okay? You need to calculate the real actual cost is based on your actual measurement. There is no other way of getting the actual cost than the real things. Okay. Now we can go for the current status information. Okay, current status information. Let's say we want to calculate schedule variance. Remember the formula for schedule variance is EV minus PV. So EV minus PV. So EV, we already get EV from our value 2,000 ringgit. PV is the one that we get based on 60% of the work progress originally. This is what we are supposed to progress, but we only managed to progress 2,000 only. So 2,000 minus 3,000, which is 1,000 negative. Remember, negative indicate bad thing. So what does bad thing mean in terms of schedule variance? It means behind schedule. You see, now you can only you can conclude one thing. So your project is basically behind schedule already. You don't have to calculate SPI. You can, okay. Later on we show you. Now we calculate cost variance first. So, but this is just based on cost. EV minus AC. EV is the same as the other example. It's only one value. The AC is the one that we are getting from the real project measurement. Let's say we only spend 1,500. Okay. So 2,000 minus 1,500, which is basically 500, which is positive. Well, positive means a good thing. Good over the positive variance mean it is under budget, sorry. So negative mean over budget. So negative is here, but our result mean under budget. Okay, under budget meaning to say we spend less than what we basically earn. Okay, so that is good. Okay, that is a good thing. So you see, it is in contrary. Behind schedule doesn't mean that you basically behind schedule Normally, sometimes could be the other way around. You spend more or you could be spending less. Okay. Okay, SPI. How to calculate SPI? SPI is using this formula and this formula, but this 0.8 and 0.9 is not meant for this example. I do have another slide. This is just explanation. If, for instance, your SPI is 0.8, meaning to say, okay, the differences between 0.8 and 1 as an index, meaning to say 20% behind schedule. So you are 20%. So in terms of percentage, you can mention to people that it is 20% in terms of schedule. How about in terms of cost? If, for instance, 0.9, okay, 0.9 meaning to say less than 1, so it is over budget because whatever the value less than 1 is basically bad things. If it is more than 1, it is a good things in terms of SPI. So that is what SPI can tell us, okay, in terms of percentage, in order to make it easy. Otherwise, if, for instance, you mentioned to the people in terms of ringgit, people might not get the idea. So this is just another way of saying things. So how about our example? If we use based on our example, okay, let's say this is the example one that we are showing you. Okay, based on this example, we can calculate the value of SPI. So SPI is EV divided by PV. EV is 2000. PV, we already calculate before 3000. Then you get 0.67. Yes?
Sorry, so the benchmark, whether it's bad or good, is 5 and above or 6 and above? 0.
The benchmark one is the good thing. The everything is fine. So
that means below, whatever below 1,
yes,
can consider bad. Okay.
yeah, but then you can take a look at this number. For instance, 0.67. So 0.67, if you minus with 1 is the benchmark, then you know that 33% behind schedule. That is the thing. So it is a bad thing. And then CPI is mean cost. So 2000 divided by 1.5, so 1.33. 1.33. So we need to say 33% is under budget. So it is good. Okay. So you basically spend less than what you are supposed to spend by 33%. Okay. So it is a good thing. So that is what SPI and CPI is all about. Okay, now that will be the current previous slide. This is what we call the current. So remember the current status, once we already have the BAC, PV, EV, and AC, then you can calculate as standard schedule variant, cost variant, SPI, and CPI. Okay. Then we come into future. This is what we call prediction. Estimate at completion is how much we need to spend based on the current spending. So EAC is basically, we can use this formula, actual cost, how much we already spent, plus BAC, okay? Plus BAC, meaning to say the total, okay? Minus with what we basically, the earned value, how much we already earned. That is what we call EAC. Estimate to complete is what we call the remaining. Okay, the remaining meaning to say, let's say we already spent, we already calculated how much in reality, then we minus with whatever thing that we already spent, then we have the remaining amount of money that we need to work with. And whereas the TCPI, I would say the summary of things, but this is CPI, TCPI. Do we have any? Okay, we do have those things. Explanation. TCPI 1.25 mean we need to find 25% efficiency. Okay, let's take a look at this slide I prepare for you. Okay, for example, budget CPI. Okay, so CPI and SPI is one thing. Okay, so the way you look at CPI and SPI is basically if less than 1, you know how much percentage in terms of you are under budget or budget. But TCPI, this is a little bit different. Let's say you calculate TCPI and you get this figure, 1.25. What does 25% mean? 25% meaning to say, if it is more than 1 for TCPI, meaning to say you have to put extra effort by 25%. You have to put more effort. Whereas if it is less than TCPI, I mean TCPI less than 1, let's say you get 0.9, meaning to say you can spend less. Less meaning to say you already achieved the target. Your efficiency is much more than what you what we call the index 1. So meaning to say you can now a little bit relax. So that is what TCPI indicates. It's very much contrary to CPI and SPI. So you might get confused with that. Okay. All right. So TCPI more than 1, future efficiency must be greater, meaning to say you must put more effort. If it is equivalent to 1, okay, everything is fine. You don't have to do anything. And if it is less than 1, then meaning to say you can slow down your gear because you are more than okay already. Okay, that is what TCPI is all about. Okay, now based on our example, the same example, now we want to calculate the EAC. Okay, EAC. So EAC is actual cost. We already spent this much. BAC is 5,000 is the original cost, original for the project. And then EV is 2,000. So at the end of the day, 5,400. Remember, we already spent less. Okay, we are under budget, which is good. So if we progress based on the current situation, so meaning to say there is a cost saving with regard to the actual cost, project completion costs at the end of the project. Okay, but this might not be the real situation. We never know. So that's why this is what we call the prediction based on the current status. Meaning to say, if we progress on the current rate, in real situation, it might not be like this. But that's okay. At least we do have some kind of indicator. Otherwise, we do not know what could be the. Otherwise, we do not know how to react. Okay, if we do not know anything, and then ETC. ETC is basically the remaining costs. So, if, for instance, this is what we are going to spend, the overall project cost, but we already spent this much. So the remaining is basically 3,000 ringgit more only in order to complete the project in 10 days. How about TCPI? Okay, TCPI is using this formula, BAC minus EV, BAC minus AC. So we are getting 0.86. So 0.86, which is basically is good. Okay, so now you can relax a little bit. Okay, relax a little bit mean to say you can work with the 14% less efficiency and still finish on the budget. So that is what TCPI is all about. Okay. In the notes that I gave you consists a lot more information. Okay, and then you can take a look at videos. There are many videos, short video with regard to example after example. But in our class, we are not going to. The concept of earned value management calculation is only that. You need to know BAC, PV, etc. That is the only thing. But sometimes the question could be complicated when it gives a lot more situation. Okay. Now let's take a look at another example. Example number 2, which is almost the same as what could be the first example. Okay, let's say we do have first day, second day, third day, fourth, fifth day. let's say 5 days of work, the same thing. We need to install 5 things. Okay, to make it easy, we need to install 5 PC, for instance. Okay, 5 days of work, and each day this will be the cost. You can use ringgit, whatever. Okay, so if you add this thing 1, 1, 1, 1, at the end of the day, you know that the BAC is 5,000 or 5 whatever the denomination. Okay, now this line indicate the status report. Status report. It looks like the status report is on the 3rd day. Okay, on the 3rd day. On the 3rd day, we can complete the project, the 2 activity only. 1 and 2, 2 activity only. We are supposed to complete 3 activity, but we take longer time in order to complete task number 1, and then subsequently task number 2 also take longer time. I mean, just let's say we install the PC and we encounter all kind of problems, we cannot complete in 1 day. So it has to be extended. So by the 3rd day, we can only complete 2 activity instead of 3. That is the status report. Now we are getting the information already. In terms of the progress, PV, we only completed 2 activity, but how about the cost? Let's say the cost, instead of spending 1,000 for first activity, we have to spend 1.5K, whatever. We need to get more people to help, etc., etc. At the end of the day, we need to pay more. Or we need to get all the certain tools, equipment, etc. So this is what we call the actual cost. If you add this value, 1.5 plus 2.5, then you already, it is equivalent to 4K, for instance. That is what your actual cost. Now you are getting all the information already. Okay. EV is basically 2. Why it is 2? Because only 2 activity. Okay. And then what else? 2 divided by 5. Okay. In order to calculate here, let's say you already completed 2 instead of 5. Okay. Times 5. 5 is basically the cost. So 5 times 5, which is equivalent to 2. In terms of cost, okay? Then we can calculate a certain value. Let's say this is the what value we get. EV is 2, PV is 3, AC is 4. Then basically we can calculate certain information. Okay, now let's say we can calculate SV, we can calculate the CV, etc., etc. And for instance, based on this information, for instance, you can know already all the information do have EV minus PV or EV minus AC. If, for instance, EV is less than AC, so meaning to say the actual cost is much bigger. So it is not good. It is bad things. AC is less than EV. Okay. That is good because you spend less than what you already planned. PV is less than EV. So this thing basically can be translated into what we call SV or CV. Maybe you can see those things better. Okay. All right. So this is again, PV is the original, and then AC is the actual cost, and EV is based on what you basically earn. It has something to do with the quantity that you calculate. Okay. All right. So cost variance, if you use the formula, you can see cost CV. So this is what we call EV, 2 minus 4, which is negative, meaning to say you already spend more than what you are supposed. Whereas the schedule variance, 2 minus, you are also running late behind schedule, also negative. Okay, both situation is not good in terms of cost and in terms of what we call in terms of schedule. You can calculate CPI, and then, for instance, CPI is 0.5, which is below than 1, which is, in terms of CPI, this is not good, okay? If it is more than 1, it is good. And then you can calculate EC based on this formula. So you can, in terms of EAC, if you go to certain books, there are many variations that you can calculate. You can calculate BAC divided by CPI. You get 10 days. This is what we call overestimate, okay, based on the current progress. But then there is another one that you can calculate, EAC, okay. You can calculate based on what the example one that I show you. If you use this formula, you will get less value. EAC is 7, okay, EAC is 7, sorry. This is what we call maybe more realistic, but if you use this value, you will get 10. Okay, but for me, maybe better you can use this formula. Okay, it is more realistic. Okay, and then what else? Estimate time completion is basically if, for instance, we use a bigger value than whatever thing that we already spent so far, then this is what we call remaining cost that we must spend. Okay, so SPI we already we can calculate based on this value, and the good thing is that if you get this SPI and take a look at this, maybe we have not covered this thing in our previous slide. If you get the original duration, you divide with SPI, okay, with SPI value, then you will get 7.6. Remember, the original duration is basically 5, and then the estimate completion, if you progress at current rate, meaning to say you are going to be completed the project at 7.6 days extra. That is the purpose of having all this index to simplify things. Okay, now we go into example number 3. Example number 3 is very much similar to your assignment. In your assignment, there is one assignment with regard to earned value management, which is almost similar to example number 3. Okay, let's say you are subcontractor responsible to refurbish a project. The estimate refurbishment cost is 500 square feet. Okay, that will be the rate. And you need to refurbish a showroom. The area of the showroom is 1,000. Based on your experience, you know your team can refurbish 100 square feet. That will be the rate. After 4 weeks, this is the status report that we are getting. You only managed to complete 45% of the quantity. This is what we call quantity of work. Then basically the actual cost is what we call AC, 250. Determine the value for each of the term below. You see, from a simple project here, you can determine BAC, this is what we call PV, BAC, EV, AC, then cost variance, schedule variance, CPI, SPI, EAC, ETC, VAC. Okay, so how to calculate those things? All right, first thing first, budget at completion. Okay, so estimate refurbishment cost, that will be the rate. This is given rate, 500 per square foot. Total showroom quantity is 1,000. This is the rate for work. Budget at completion, you see, BAC. How do you get BAC? Is the area time with the rate of the work. So you will get the BAC. So first thing first, you already established BAC. Then total duration of the work, okay? Because on the on the 4 week is given there, but you do not know in terms of the overall project duration how long you will take this project. But the rate, the productivity rate is given 100 square foot per week. Then from that you know, okay, 1,000 divided by 100, so the total project duration is basically 10 weeks. So now you already know the time scale, 10 weeks. Okay. So basically, this is your original S-curve. This is what we call BAC. You already have 500,000. Then basically it is 10 week. Now you are measuring at this 4th week. Okay. So plan value, this one, PV. Okay. On the 4th week, it is on the 4th week, based on this original figure, for sure it is, because it is 10 weeks, the overall duration. So we can simply calculate 4 divided by, okay, 4 divided by 10, then you time this BAC, then that is your plan value. On the 4th week, you are supposed to spend, to complete the project and spend 200,000. Okay. Then come the information based on the real work. This is what we call real work. Percentage completion. Okay. Percentage completion, it looks like you are ahead of schedule, 45%. In reality, it is only 40% based on plan value. So which is good. So what could be your earned value? Earned value is 45% time with what the original plan. So you'll get 45 times BAC, you will get 225. So which is earned value is good. You earn more, okay, than what you plan. But how about actual cost? Actual cost is given from this information, based on real information. Let's say you spend 250. Well, it looks like if you compare actual cost with the PV, you already know. Now you already overspend. Okay. So cost variance. You can calculate cost variance with the EV. Okay, EV is this one. And then AC. AC is basically 250. So you see, this is what we call negative. This is what negative. Okay, it's a bad thing, over budget. How about schedule variance? Schedule variance is EV minus PV. EV is 2 to 5. This is EV minus 200,000, the original one. So basically you have positive. Okay, so in terms of schedule, you are ahead of schedule. But in terms of cost, you basically overspend. Okay, so what is CPI? EV divided by AC, so you get 0.9. So in terms of cost, it is not good. So you basically over budget by 10%. Okay. How about schedule variance? Schedule variance, basically 13%. This is like 10% over. This is like 10%. What we call 10%, which is basically you are ahead of schedule, which is good. Estimate at completion. Okay, estimate at completion. If we use this diagram, okay, BAC divided by CPI, you will get, you have to, basically at the end of the day, you have to spend more. Original budget is only 500,000. Now you already know that you have to spend more. estimate to complete, EAC minus AC. So you already spent about 150,000, if I'm not mistaken. You minus with this value, then you need to spend more. And wherein at completion, VAC, meaning to say, you have to spend extra money by 55,000. That is what this value is all about. Okay, I think I'm not really sure. In your assignment, maybe there is another one, TCPI. TCPI, you can always use the formula that we already have given you. Just one more step because you already have all the information there. Okay, example number 4. This is interesting because we do have revised estimate. Okay, total BAC is given. Okay, PV, let's say is given there. Work accomplished, EV is there. Actual cost is given also. So what is the information given to us? CPI. Okay, using this formula CPI, we can calculate easily 0.75, meaning to say we are under budget, which is okay. And TCPI. Okay, TCPI, we can use this formula, okay, because BAC we already know, EV already know, everything we had the information. TCPI is 1.23. You need to be very careful. TCPI, when it is more than 1, so meaning to say 20%, basically you need to put more effort. Okay, you need to put more effort. That is the issue. Okay, and then TCPI at revise. Okay, if we do have revise, let's say in the middle of the project, okay, let's go back to here. This is the original one, but then in the middle of the project, the management say we add more money a little bit, 5,000. So, but then the calculation will take into account the revise, and you know, it looks like when you already prepare extra money, it looks like your TCPI is equivalent to 1. So we need to say everything is fall perfectly, just nice. That is what a revised budget is all about. Okay. Okay then. Example number 5, a bit more complicated, but the concept of earned value is always the same. Okay, except that the information that you need to gather a little bit more. Okay, let's say we do have this bar chart with all the costs, and this is the month number 1 until month number 6. So this is the original. Then after 3.5 months, 3.5 months meaning to say month number this 1, 2, 3. 3.5 months means to say here in the middle of this is 3.5 months progress. We wanted to know what could be the status for this project in terms of CV, SV, etc., etc. And you notice the information given. It looks like after 3.5 months, the actual progress is activity 1, 2, 5 already completed. Activity 6 is half completed. Activity 8 is three-quarter completed, and activity 3 is also half complete. The incurred cost to date is this, what we call AC. All right, so how do we approach this kind of question? Well, don't worry. We start with the first thing first. Okay, we already know AC is given there. Okay, we can calculate BAC. BAC is very simple. You can add up all this value. This is what we call BAC. So now you already have two information. AC is there given, BAC is you can get. Now you want to get PV. PV is also easy. So PV is basically everything is here. All this information based on the original program. So you just add 22,000, 10,000, 18,000, all this information, including half of this thing based on the original. So this is what I am doing. Okay. So based on all the listed activity, you put the cost. So you will get the PV equivalent to 161. This is what we call PV. This is easy to get, except that you need to look at your Gantt chart again. And then EV. This EV is the real situation based on the information given. You see, this activity half complete this activity, so you need to look at those things carefully, and then you can only attach figure. Looks like this thing already completed, and this is based on the information. I just split them accordingly as not to get confused. So activity 6 is half complete. Activity 8 is 3/4 complete, equivalent to 70%, 75%. So if you do that, then you will get this value. This is what we call EV. So once you get this value, then easily you can calculate SV. SV is EV minus PV. You will get negative. Negative means behind schedule. CV. CV, it looks like you get positive. You need to say under budget, which is a good thing. Then what else you can calculate? You can calculate EAC. Okay. For instance, I'm using this formula. So based on whatever thing that you already spent, this is what we call AC. This is BAC, BAC, and then this is what we call EV. Okay, then this is what we call EAC. Okay, EAC means to say you estimate completion cost is less than what you budgeted. Why? Because you have been working under budget. That will be good thing. Okay, what else? I didn't complete. Okay, you can complete ETC. You can complete TCPI from this one. And this is example again. CV, positive, negative indicate good or bad things, as simple as that. CPI, more than one, indicate better, less than one, good, worse. But then if we are talking about TCPI, it is on the reverse of CPI, okay? So if it is TCPI positive, meaning to say you have to put more effort, by how many percent? If it is less than one, you are doing okay, meaning to say you can work a little bit relaxed by how many percent, okay? And then assignment is, you can take a look at this, but there is no need because we already have the assignment as in your the overall assignment there. Okay, so that is what earned value is all about.